Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Nicole Finari. With me today is...
Christopher Robinson.
And what movie are we overanalyzing?
Queen and Slim.
So directed by Melina Mitsugas, Slim and Queen's first date takes an unexpected turn when a policeman pulls them over for a minor traffic violation. The situation escalates. Slim, played by Daniel Kaluuya, takes the officer's gun and shoots him in self-defense. Now labeled cop killers in the media, Slim and Queen, Joni Turner-Smith, go on the run to evade the law. Or as I put it, worst Tinder date ever. So, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. And my wife would say that it actually ended up being a good date.
I don't know if I liked it or I didn't like it.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm really torn. I think you might be able to guess the problem I had with the movie.
Okay.
Which was the love story.
Yeah, it was a love story movie.
Yeah. And I couldn't figure out why in the heck this really nice guy stuck by this awful, snotty woman.
Wow. I think
she was so terrible. And there was...
I think you're hard on her.
Really?
I mean, no. She definitely
Sitting
had
in that diner?
Oh.
What a bee. Like, she was terrible. She was so snobby. And she kept putting down the place and putting down everything about him. And he was trying to, make the best of it. He was trying to make the best of it. She didn't give him anything. She basically escalated the situation with the cop that got them into trouble in the first place. Which, he's nice enough never to blame her for. She makes the stupid decision to run. And then we get this whole, middle section where we found out she had a hard life, so that kind of excuses her being a jerk now.
I'm just confused. My confusion comes from is that we've given this type of storyline about the bad boy having all these difficulties in life and he's lashing out at the world, and we give him some compromise. Why don't we give her some compromise because of that? It's just like a gender flip of a lot of things about a guy the bad boy who's rough and he's
I completely disagree. This is a very tired trope and I'm sick of seeing it. Of the uptight woman who just needs a good man to loosen her up and teach her to be vulnerable. There's the plot of 50% of romantic comedies out there.
There's also the ones with the gender flip versus the uptight guy and the maniac pixie dream girl. Absolutely. But this one is that he was just a nice guy. I'm assuming that he grew up middle class, just worked at his Costco, had no ambition, and he was just fine living his life. He was content with his life. She wanted to make a change in the world. That's why she became a lawyer.
Which she abandons like that.
Well, yeah, because she realized with her time with the legal system knew that they were hoes no matter what.
Yeah, but
I do agree that she instigated with the police officer, but I don't think that she didn't do anything technically wrong.
Okay, so I don't want to get into, victim blaming. They shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place at all. I don't want to make it I don't want to pin this on her. But she does get out of the car and start yelling at the cop while he's holding a gun. And I'm just sort of I don't really think this was the smart play. And there are so many moments when she is we should just run. I'm are you actually a lawyer? And then she decides to run and just quit everything. And I'm but are you actually a lawyer?
Yeah, she had nothing to lose.
She had... being a lawyer.
But she had being a lawyer to lose, but she didn't feel like it was do anything with it. She was an emotionally vulnerable time. One of the person that she actually believed in was going to be sentenced to death, and that's why she reached out to Tinder. So I think it makes sense. And then she didn't have a really good family life. And
that part I get.
Why would she throw her life away like that so quickly? because she didn't believe she had a life. And that was the whole love story thing, is that they end up falling in love and they end up being feeling fulfilled with that love for each other.
So unlikable in the beginning of the movie. It was a really hard flip for me.
Yeah, I was fine with her being that unlikable because, I can totally understand where she's coming from. Like, I don't disagree. Like I said, like, I thought this was funny because he might be being typecast.
My face is like open-mouthed stare. What are you talking?
I think he's being typecast is that he's going to be the guy who's being pulled over by the police officer, and his girlfriend or the woman in the car is trying to get him killed, just like in Get Out, when she started talking back to the cop. I was thinking, like, oh, you're going to get me killed. Because we did the same
absolutely.
Thing
no, it was. And he... All right. Let's circle back on her and all of that more towards when we get into the social issue stuff, because, like, the reason why I am torn is because there was so much about the movie to like. Of course, Daniel Kaluuya, we all know I love Daniel Kaluuya. I won't bore everybody, but he's so amazing. And he did a lot with a little, I feel like. I think that's a thing, too. Like, I felt like he was underwritten. They spent so much time developing her character, and I just felt like she was given a lot more time and depth than he was.
I thought I got to know him, to understand him. Like I said, he goes to... we get a lot to know about him early on because, like he says, she has the 4 kids and she's doing a lot of stuff. And he's just going to deal with her getting his order wrong because he helps her out at the Costco. So he's that type of guy who helps out someone in the Costco use his card. And he's just like... I knew that he didn't have any ambition. He was just fine kind of going with his lot in life. When you look at his parents, when you go in the, when he used to go to his parents' family in the house, you could tell by the house that he grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, middle-class existence. And he seemed to be, he just seemed to be like, okay, I'll just go through it. No ambition. All right, trusting God. God will get me through things. He had no desire to... He's working... Like I said, he's working at Costco. He got a stable job. Not a good job, but he got a stable job to get some health insurance. He didn't want anything from him. He was a straight arrow. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. So I thought that we got enough of his type of personality. And he just went with things. Like, he didn't really... He said, like, I'm going to make an executive decision. And he makes his executive decision once. But he's more easygoing, just goes with the flow.
Right. I don't disagree with any of that. And I just felt like, I don't know. It's like they have that one scene in the car where they're talking about what they want and she says, tell me a story. And he tells her a story, but the story's not particularly illuminating. I don't know. I just felt like all their time was spent talking about her and dealing with her stuff. And he really just kind of...
See, I found the story to be illuminating because it talked about something that was very important to him, family. And that's why that he went through all the different family members. And, like, she didn't have a close family.
But we already knew he was really into family. That's come up several times already in the film.
I know. And, like, so that's
not introducing any new information about the character. I thought the way
he was talking about, how he talked about the family and how he went to, and he talks about, like, how his grandmother looked at the world, how his father looked at the world, how his mother looked at the world, his brother looked at the world. I thought all that gave more development about how he grew up. And I thought that was the whole thing. And he says, and the catchline, like, it just comes from sex. Well, that's not exactly what he says, but that just comes on to, like, how he's gotten throughout the world. I think, like, his prayer that he prayed at the table, I thought that showed some character development, his trusting God, car.
Oh, there's another example. All of a sudden, she's praying at the table.
Because they just went through all this stuff, and just like...
Well, really, there are no atheists in foxholes trope? Like,
no, it was just the whole thing in that just respecting other people's beliefs. In that she does a prayer at the table, and he stops chewing with his mouth open and making all that noise when he's chewing. Because that was something
she does it first.
Yes, and she does the prayer at the table.
Right. No, my point is... Mm-hmm. There's no reason for her to say, I'll be the one to give the prayer. It's totally out of character from everything you've learned about her up until that point. And her switching doesn't make any sense. Like,
the prayer, she was trying to make sure the white woman wouldn't turn her in. Mrs. Shepherd wouldn't turn her in. And the guy, I mean,
okay,
it was working the room.
If you and I were at a dinner where I knew the people were super religious, and I'm me, not at all religious, and they're like, someone should give a prayer, what am I going to do? Shoot you a look.
Yes.
Go ahead, Christopher.
But if I'm on the run from people and I need them to trust me, I would go...
No, you wouldn't.
Yes, you would.
You would be like, this person has the expertise.
No.
Why am I going to open my mouth?
She's the one who's always, she's the leader of the group. She was always the leader of the group. It made sense for her to take, she's always been taking control of everything.
I don't know. It was just, it seemed really inconsistent with her character, other than to say she's super domineering, to which I again say, why does he just go along with her?
Because he's easygoing and she's had a rough life. And like, he's like, like you said, someone who would love her scars.
I don't know. I think that, like, all I can say is, from my personal opinion, they relied a lot on us going through this experience with her and coming to know her and like her better the way that he did. And it didn't quite work for me. Like, I don't feel like the changes or not changes, nothing that happens after seems to explain the before. There just seems to be a random disconnect. Like, I guess I didn't feel like I would have liked it better as a love story if it felt like he was having this positive influence. But he kind of never says anything. So
I thought the whole fact that she said a prayer was a positive influence on her.
Yeah, but I wouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
Like, her finding religion does nothing for me.
Right.
It just makes it sound like she was just being a jerk in the beginning to be a jerk, which, again, still makes me feel...
I think she was hurt, and I thought that, like, them learning to... They got through a very traumatic incident through each other, and they grew to love each other, and they grew to trust each other.
Yeah, I mean, we can circle back again. I keep getting us stuck in this rabbit hole on her character, but there were, I would say, and overall I really enjoyed like the technical aspects of the film, regardless of whether I liked her character. I thought the actress did a really good job. I thought everybody in the movie was great. The uncle was amazing, and it kind of, I went and looked up Melina, the director, Mitsoukas, afterwards, and it did kind of feel like a first time.
She did Lemonade, right? Or
she did Formation.
Formation, okay.
It did kind of feel like a first time director, because there were moments when the cinematography generally,
yes, but
there were moments when it was too much.
I didn't like the whole, they did a lot of that. We're going to have voiceover. Just hold an image, then have voiceover. She relied on that a little bit too much.
I really liked that.
Oh, I didn't. I thought it was a little bit too distracting, because it just came out, it felt jarring sometimes.
Yeah, but then you kind of figured out what she was doing.
Yeah.
So she sort of anticipates a conversation, like a future conversation is, you hear the audio, but you haven't caught up to the visual yet, so she doesn't actually have to film them having a conversation. I like that technique, but there were times when it was like a quiet moment and the camera's moving and it's like dissolving and undissolving and you know what I mean, like focusing and unfocusing, and it was just like, just settle into the moment. Like, the camera needed to be a little less.
See, I felt she held a lot of long shots and just let you drink in the experience in the area.
On landscapes, but not on people.
Yeah, I'll give you that much.
She wouldn't hold it on a dramatic moment. And it was like trying to be like, there's all this inner turmoil. I was like, I get what you're trying to do stylistically, but it's like, it felt like that first time director's, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. And it's like, her next movie will be a little bit
more restrained.
Simpler. Yeah.
Okay.
And she'll learn when to use it for optimal effect and like when to hold back.
Oh, see, I liked some of that. See, I guess that some of that aspect, that I liked some of that part, like when she was filming I'm going to call it speakeasy, but the bar.
So that was my favorite part of the whole movie, the montage of all the people dancing. Like I said, it wasn't, those parts were great. Some of the driving shots got a little bit tedious.
Okay.
Yeah, shot of this, shot of this, shot of this. Like, yeah, I was like, okay.
It was nice to see how beautiful the South is. You forget that sometimes.
Oh, Spanish moss. But again, there were just moments, like I said, usually because she wants to convey the character's confusion. So she's like, again, doing a like focus on the background, focus on the person, focus on, and it's like,
oh, I didn't feel that way.
It just was like a little restraint was needed in some of them. But again, overall, I really liked it. It just, there were moments where I was like, oh, first time director trying all the things she gets to do. And it was like, okay, calm down a little bit. I did really like too, it felt like those cops' lights were in my eyes during that whole scene, like when he flashes, yes. And I was like, oh God, which was really well done. And yeah, the montage of the dancers was definitely my favorite part of the movie. And the soundtrack was amazing, yes. Both in like score and in song, right?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved what they did with it. It was great. It was really well done.
Yeah. And then there was one thing that I was like, I wasn't sure how I felt about the stylistic choice of them having sex the first time, cross-cutting to the protest and then the violence with the kid.
The kid being an idiot and getting the wrong idea from the whole
reason. And I was like, is this the moment you want to cut back and forth between?
I kind of think so, because I guess I see that it was the ramifications of their actions. Their interactions, one, they fall in love, and then something that they did not, that was spiraling out of control, that they had no control over, that came from their actions, from their interaction with the boy.
And then what did you make of the I don't feel like they would have opened fire on him at the end.
Oh, heck yeah. He was not following orders. They were all going to die.
They were all going to die, but
they would have shot him. If he does not follow police orders, they would light into him. Doesn't matter if he's unarmed or not. He's approaching them. They would light into him.
Slowly, carrying with his hands full.
Yes, they would still light into him because he's disobeying a direct order.
Yeah, this isn't the army.
This is the police. The police will shoot you.
Yeah, but
they will shoot a cop killer. There is no way.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. But with all of the attention on the case, it did seem a little bit like they would have played this one a little bit more by the book. But whatever, he had to die. So.
I mean, well, they shot her, and once you knew that they shot her, and they were gonna and she was still allowed to hold her weapon. They didn't tell her to sit down. We were calling her. I called her Becky because. The woman who shot, the woman cop who shot Queen. Well, we get their real names. It was
Angela and Ernest.
Angela and Ernest. Angela Johnson. When she shot Angela Johnson, and then they didn't make her put down the gun, but no, she still got the point of it. Yeah, they're all in on this. He's gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah, they never tell you their names in the movie, and they never call them
until
Queen
the end. Yeah,
Slim either.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I found a little.
Yeah, they don't tell you their names until the end when they're going to the funeral, which I like the funeral scene.
I did too, and I like this scene of
mm-hmm.
But I was a little, the artistic choice of calling the movie Queen and Slim and never saying the words Queen and Slim was it necessary?
I mean, it just feels like it just makes me think of CinemaSins roll credits when they say the name of the movie. And it's just is it necessary?
I don't know. I guess they didn't. I guess Queen and Slim, once I saw the movie and saw who they were, didn't really resonate. So then I wanted.
She was she was Queen.
Yeah, Slim wasn't didn't feel.
Yeah, she was Queen. He was just easygoing, just going along with anything. So the naming works for me.
Yeah, it didn't for me. So I wanted someone to bestow those names, and I just wanted to see. I don't know. I guess that's what I came away with. I don't know. And the whole Queen thing, I'm here's this girl. She's left her background behind. She did all the work of getting her through law school and getting a law degree. And she spends she spends half the movie in a hooker dress with these weird boots on.
Right.
Never seems for a moment to be uncomfortable with how she's dressed. And I found that really unrealistic.
Why?
Because I would have been so uncomfortable.
She grabbed the clothes as quickly as possible and got out of there.
Right. That's not my complaint. I think part of the problem is the comparison for me to Daniel Kaluuya, who just acts so much in his body. So just how he, like, kind of hunched his shoulders and took up less space, and he did this, like, shuffle walk.
Yeah.
And it was, like, totally different than, like, that was acting, you know what I mean? Like, he stands different, he uses his body differently depending on the character. And so for her, we first see her, she's literally in a turtleneck. She's as covered up as you can possibly be.
Yeah.
And then she's in this skimpy little dress, and she's like, whatever. And it just seemed unrealistic to me, again, based on the character that they've presented, that she would feel so comfortable showing that much skin.
And I guess that was kind of, I guess you could see that as like her evolution of her character, in that she was okay with going to, like, one, she did whatever needs to get done to put on those clothes. She chose those clothes, yeah. And she
didn't have a choice.
Yeah, she found
that doesn't mean she was comfortable with the choice that she had to make.
I understand that, but I just feel that I think that, especially when she got comfortable with the dancing, comfortable in the, I'm going to call it speakeasy because it feels like a speakeasy, I felt that was her getting more comfortable with the situation, comfortable with her hair, comfortable with everything. And I thought that...
So if you were on the run, and someone was like, the only thing we got in our closet is 70s basketball shorts and a tank top.
I have worn.
There is definitely
worn things.
In that
he wore a velour tracksuit
where you would have been, like, discreetly, like, tugging down your shorts. You would have just been like, whatever, I feel as comfortable and as easy as this as anything else I would wear. I don't buy it.
I guess I thought that there was more for her to worry about than just the clothes. But so I guess I thought about this whole thing is that I didn't feel that was that her wearing those clothes were as distracting to me.
Again, yeah, I mean, I can see why they wouldn't be. I guess that's because there was just so many little things like that about her character that just didn't add up.
So it seems like you really didn't understand her character, right? Or you couldn't get a handle on her character. No. Okay.
I don't see how you have this very much, I would rather be home alone, sipping wine.
See, Bill definitely has a superiority complex, especially compared to him.
And it's when you find out that superiority complex is born of struggle to get there, and the ease to which she just sheds it all and goes back seems extremely problematic to me.
I think that her experience with the system was enough that, especially going from the tragic thing that happened to her client, I think that her and being shot, I think her system was that, yeah, I don't trust the system at all, and we're screwed. I got nothing to lose, so I'm running. She didn't feel like the rest of her life was worth it.
Yeah, that is what the movie tells you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't find that psychologically
okay.
I don't buy it.
I feel like he had a stronger connection to his community, hence why he called his family, and because that was stupid of him.
Right. That's what I'm saying. She doesn't have a community. The only identity she has is being this lawyer.
I understand that, but I don't think that she
giving it all up and being so comfortable with it seems really unrealistic to me. Especially, like, people who grew up in really crappy circumstances have a tendency of being very, very, very afraid of anything.
Losing everything.
That will send them back to those crappy...
And so she was able to... Crap, I'm bad. It's bad. We're screwed. And she reacts poorly. She also gets him to try to rob... She convinces him to rob a gas station. That was quick.
Yeah.
As they pulled a gun on a cop. Yeah. She did not have a lot of... She was reacting very poorly.
Yeah. So the last word I'm going to say on this is, like, you can say... This is how the character was written, and these are all the things that she did. No kidding. I don't think it was good writing. I don't think it summed to a realistic person. I don't think her behaviors and motivations added up to a three-dimensional person that I think could exist in real life. I found her baffling.
Okay.
And that when they would try to tell you what the motivations were, my sense was, but wouldn't that motivate her in a completely different way?
Okay.
So... And obviously, you know, this movie is very much about the Black experience, right? So I'm coming from it not from that experience, just as from a woman who, you know, but so maybe it does make more sense and I just can't see it because it's not my lived experience, but I just didn't find her realistic.
Okay.
And I think worse than that, for the movie, I just could never like her.
Yeah, you didn't give her any...
Not...
You didn't give her anything.
Because do you know how many terrible first online dates I've been on? Her behavior was so inexcusable.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
she was in a bad day. She was having a bad day?
I just couldn't forgive her for doing poor Daniel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. She only did that Tinder to make herself feel better.
Exactly.
To make her feel superior to herself. And that was her own point of that. There was nothing
she's pretty much a terrible person.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with that, but I understand why she did it. She had a bad day. She wants to make someone else feel bad. And she wants to make herself feel good.
Better by making someone feel bad.
Yeah.
Right. So then, like...
There would never have been a second date.
There was not enough of that movie for me to grow to love her from that moment.
Like I said, I felt like learning more about her background and everything was allowed me to be more sympathetic towards her.
That's fair. You know me, first impressions. But so for a movie that was trying to be a sort of all-encompassing to the Black experience, which no movie could possibly encompass that.
It was the Southern Black experience.
Well, they start out in Cleveland.
Ohio, yeah.
Ohio, not at all.
Yeah, well, sorry. Rural Black experience, yeah.
Okay. I guess, how did you feel it did on...
Yeah, it made sense to me. I enjoyed it. It was, like I said, I could understand where they were coming from. Understand. Though I watched it with my wife, and we could understand, especially her uncle and his whole brothel experience, and this whole lived-in aspect of it was nice, and you could understand each of those characters' motivations. We were talking about the cop who was sleeping with one of the prostitutes, and like the whole relationship between that whole thing was hilarious. Like, kind of maybe trying to save her out of the system or something like that. It was just silly, but I could understand. I understood where each of the characters coming from. I understand the dumb kid who took the wrong lesson from the whole. Oh, they're famous because they killed a cop, instead of like, oh, because the cop was a bad guy, versus the kid executes a good cop who's just trying to help. So,
and a black one.
Yeah, a black good cop.
At that.
Yeah, just shot him in the face.
Which I thought was a...
He didn't mean to shoot. It looked like the bullet, he looked surprised when the gun went off.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that was something sort of... So one of the issues with, things like racism or sexism is that they are institutionalized.
Yeah.
And so you talk about, it's like I get someone was like, criticizing feminists for like, women voting for Trump. And I'm like, the feminists aren't taking that on. Like, that's what happens when you have a system of misogyny. It's a system. Right. Like, it co-opts the members as well as the non. So like, and there have definitely been issues of, Black cops or other cops of color also treating innocent Black civilians.
They're blue before being Black, or being Black before being blue.
Yeah. So I thought, there was a subtle point there about that cop, but then, a different cop, like, lets them go.
Yeah, it was...
more to sort of piss off his white
the guy
partner.
Was being, like, the guy was definitely doing the definition, because they weren't partners, but they were different departments. That's why.
Yeah, I know. Partner wasn't the right.
But the guy, the cop he was.
They were working assigned with is a good way of putting it. Like, it's clear they had no relationship with each other.
Yeah, and the guy is just like, yep, and you can all those microaggressions. They just walked on out.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I liked how they gave a variety of different Black stances on the whole thing.
Yeah, me too.
Like the guy who like, you should turn yourselves in, but I'm not gonna turn you in. Versus like the guy who's fixing the car, I'm not gonna give you a discount. you guys were wrong, but like I'm not going to sell you out versus the drug dealer who totally sold them out.
Yeah. So they're white cops, right? She gets shot by a white cop twice. First a man, then a woman. But then there's the white couple who helps them out. Even though, shepherds. Yeah, the woman, I just realized that name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though the wife is obviously reluctant.
But she's going to support her. Like, I didn't realize it was Flea until my wife said, like,
I know, right? Yeah. He was in Boy Erased. And yeah, Chloe 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know, like I said, I'm maybe not the best person to comment on the Black experience.
Well, I mean, like, I could understand, like, because the two guys served together, so I said, yeah, he wouldn't turn them in because they had that military bond. So I totally understood that.
Right, and I think that, again, like, there were just smart elements about the film to me where they talk about sort of the times when you stand up for, say, whatever your perceived is, and when you stand up for whatever your perceived is, right?
Right.
There are lots of different choices along the way. And no one is, I would say, like, no one is given a free pass and no one is judged either, right? Like, you have the uncle's character.
Right.
He's clearly, quote, messed up from the war, right?
Yeah. He's family.
But he's family. And
he wasn't, like...
He takes them in. He does right by them in the end, right?
Yeah, and he killed her mother. It was an accident, but he killed her mother and she still defended him. Right. That's why he owes her. So that was like, yeah, family. And that was the whole thing. But you could also see that they have not, after he probably defended her, she never talked to him again. She probably kept completely away because the cops weren't waiting for her at his house because they didn't think that she would contact him.
Right.
Versus the cops were all over at his house because he was a good family boy. He went to church.
Yeah.
And yeah. Me and Kim had a big discussion about would he have been shot if he stayed in the car? And she thinks he would have. I don't. I have a little bit more faith in police. Maybe?
I think he would have been arrested.
Yeah. They were definitely going to both go to jail.
Yeah.
But then they can get thrown out afterwards and it would make their lives a lot harder, but it wouldn't stand up.
I mean, barring the sort of extreme example, and I guess we'll never really know what happened maybe for, like, Sandra Bland, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, a roadside arrest went horribly, horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons why they say don't talk back to cops, because cops have a gun and power and get away with anything. If they want to.
I'm just, like, that's like a...
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah,
that's not common, that's not typical, there's no reason to expect that. So...
okay. Sorry. I guess it's a different...
her ending up, like, whatever, dying. Committing suicide.
Dying is not common.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Her getting arrested and her having a bad... Talking back to a cop as a black person, that
I meant, like, my thinking was, like, they would have just gotten arrested and been fine. So I was about to say, like, barring some bizarre Sandra Bland experience where they would not have been fine, which I don't think is common. So, like, let's say.
See, my wife was going for the whole thing is that he had no justification for pulling them over. He couldn't find any justification for pulling over.
Plus, he had to have known his dash cam was on.
Yeah, he knew his dash cam was on. And he pulled out a gun on a guy who is no threat to you, and he's down on your knees and everything. There's not much that he can go on. Like, on a good thing, maybe he gets arrested, or maybe something happens. And that's what my wife more believes something would happen, because it looks pretty clear-cut bad case with the police officer. But we also had a cop shoot Philip Castillo.
Yeah.
And he got away with it, so...
I mean, taking the getting away with it aside, because the cop's already gotten away with it, the is, right?
Yeah, if he might have killed the guy. We don't know. And he, like you said, he killed someone else beforehand. There was another officer shooting that was very suspect, and the cop got away with it. So I can see that he might have ended up dead no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not an expert on every single inappropriate shooting, but it seems to me that, I don't know, I'm afraid to say this. I'm afraid to say, like, being really submissive and doing what they say, like, is a protection against that. Like, I'm afraid to go that far, right?
I mean, that's
it just
what you...
isn't. It absolutely isn't.
It's identity politics. They believe that if you do the right... Like, he was...
Yeah, no.
His whole thing, he was doing everything to be submissive, and he was still down on his knees
harassed.
Down on his knees with his head, and had a gun to his head.
Well, no, he does... He says, almost the most innocent
it's cold.
Things. Like, he's like, could you hurry up?
Yeah.
Like, he shows an element of frustration, which, because he's like, he knows he's not going to find anything. But
he knows he's not going to find anything.
And that's when the cop goes,
ballistic on him. And the girl also, like, this whole date went crappy with him, and there's nothing going to happen with it. So he had a lot of frustrations. But, like, that, the cop... And then the Black diaspora was able to they understood, and they were willing to turn a blind eye to protect him because they thought that what he did was right, which is he was protecting his wife. Or as the big boy, little boy that they get the
dad that they hit.
That
part was some pretty good comedy in that moment.
Yeah, that was pretty good about like, you have to protect the woman that you have feelings for. I'm gonna go with that nice way of saying. He didn't say it so nicely.
Your lady, let's just say.
Yeah, his lady. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is part of the issue is that ultimately I felt that they would have gotten arrested. It would have been a whole ridiculous situation. His dad would have had to come bail him out, but he would have been fine, and she got him into this mess.
Like I said, this is the get out thing.
I do think my thought was they probably would have been fine. Like, it's just hard to imagine a situation like usually the cop shootings. Like, I mean, half the time they think they have the right person, or there's reason to suspect that they've committed a crime, and it's a false identifications.
You give a little bit
not
more.
Half and maybe not. A lot of the time it's that.
Or that's what they say, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're just randomly shooting people.
I think the movie showed that most people are good people. That was the majority of the movie. 90% of the people in that movie were good people.
Right. No, I'm talking about the cops.
And 90% of the cops were good people.
Are fine.
There was only one bad cop.
But it was like, was he so bad that even if he brought him in for arrest, he would have found a reason to shot him? Possibly.
He shot someone beforehand, and that was he shot someone beforehand. But it's like,
they shoot people when they're running away, clearly just because they're mad that they're running away. Right?
Yes, exactly. And this guy was
like talking, running away. They're literally not a threat.
Right.
Like,
and they'll shoot them in the back. So.
Right, exactly. But and
then drop a gun on them.
That's not just totally like fictitious isn't the word, because it can be totally fictitious.
They wrote this character that this cop was a bad apple.
Right.
And the whole thing, we don't know what he would have done.
We don't know.
But he did shoot a woman in the leg for no good reason.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it with that one. So, yeah. So I could understand how the community came to see them as heroes. Because, like, the whole him protecting a knight in shining armor, that he was trying to do the right thing, and then he was trying to help her and protect her.
I don't think what they did was any more wrong than any other sort of situation where things get very out of hand, everybody's in the wrong.
Right. I mean,
and violence ensues. Like,
they should have turned themselves in. I mean, the
issue is the running, right?
But, yeah, they should have turned themselves in. But she, because of her bad experience with the system, said, no, bump that, I'm done.
Yeah.
And he went with her. He could have gone, didn't have to go. And
I'm so, like, not that all roads lead back to OJ, but...
Oh, wow. That's...
It does sort of, I mean, I do think, one lesson you might take from that trial, which is, again, the lesson that I have taken from all the trials that I've been a jury on, is that good lawyers make a big difference. And if you have some money to pay for a really good lawyer... Yes, good lawyers... Race definitely matters, and the system is biased, but money also has a role to play.
I mean, that was a lot of people see the O.J. Simpson being that he finally... Why some people celebrate it was that, wow, someone got rich enough that they can get around the race issue. that you had enough money that you could get around for the race issue, which when some people see the O.J. Simpson is that he had enough money, he was able to get around the race issue because the L.A. cops have a very bad history. And yeah, let's leave it at that.
So I just want to bring like one last closing point, because I've been very careful in how I've been talking about this movie and how I did the opening description. Mm-hmm. So one of the frustrations of Lena Waithe and director Melina Matsoukas has been that people keep calling this movie a Bonnie and Clyde story. And they get very upset because it's not like they're hardened criminals and they're on the lam for that.
And they're hurting multiple people.
So they do, yes, commit some additional crimes, but especially he like mostly avoids it as much as he possibly can.
It's a love story.
Yeah. And you know, it's hard not to
see the racial aspect of why it's a Bonnie and Clyde movie.
It's really hard.
Yeah. It's I mean, like, yeah.
I'm just put that down. So I didn't refer to it that way. I won't in any of my writing. I get why they're upset.
I mean, they say a line in it. Bonnie and Clyde, but I can understand. Yeah, they make one bad decision and then they continue to make more bad decisions. But yeah, they commit a couple crimes.
Mostly not hurtful ones.
Yeah, trying to run away. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But they never kill anybody else. Bringing it all together, what would you give Queen and Slim as a social impact score?
I am
knowing that it's not doing particularly.
It's not doing well, and like it's not getting the award attention that I would like it to get. I am glad this movie exists. I was so happy when the trailer came out. I said, like, wait, what? Wait, they made this movie? Wait, what? And so, but like you said, it's not getting much attention. I want to definitely look for more of her work.
You still haven't given it a score.
I know. I'm dodging that. I want to give her a 4 because it's like not doing. It's not. I mean, it's not doing well. But it's not doing well. I don't know.
Could have a second life on video. You don't know.
Okay,
on streaming. Sorry.
I mean, like I would I wanted to give it I would like to give it a 6 or a 7, but I'm not sure it's getting enough attention, and it might be forgotten.
I'm going to go ahead and give it at least a 6.
Okay. I'm worried about the lack of attention it's getting.
Yeah, but it's like just on movie making alone.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie. It's beautifully
shot.
I'm gonna own this movie.
Like Melina Matsoukas will get more work. Like I can't. Yeah, no, sorry, I can't give something that was this good a movie below a 5. That's just
fair enough.
Like it's a sort of half and a half score is how I do it. Every one of the team is allowed to do this however they want. There's no formal rules about the social impact score, but I'm just like, ouch, a 4.
Everything I liked about the movie, that would be an 8. It's because I have no faith in the Academy or any of the other thing that knocks down the social impact score.
Got it. Recommendations for the week?
Well, I've been reading Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Water Dancer.
Okay.
It's been fun. It's a beautiful writer. I love his prose.
So I'm going to recommend something in honor of us having gone to see Amy Sherman Palladino and Dean Palladino and all the season 3 of Mrs. Maisel. Like, I've already recommended Mrs. But there's been all this talk about going back and revisiting Lenny Bruce readings.
Right.
But one of the main figures that Mrs. Maisel is based on is the unforgettable Joan Rivers.
Yes. You had to see her comedy. Her stand-up was pretty good.
Go back. I will post some links in the show notes. Go back and look at one of the absolute pioneers in being a female stand-up comic. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Movies That Matter. We obviously have way too much fun making it. So this was a bonus episode because this is something we really wanted to do and we really wanted to talk about. We will be back on schedule next week, the two of us again, as it happens for 1917. Check out our Twitter feed at Movies Matter Pod. Talk to us on Facebook, also /Movies Matter Pod. Our website, moviesthatmatterpodcast.com. All the ways you can reach us. Reach out. We love hearing from you. Even with criticisms, just be nice. Luckily, you can't get looks. And remember, movies matter.
And so do you.
We'll see you next time.